What's cracking, people? It's your man, Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, representing high-level technicians operating globally and beyond. So listen, today I wanted to go into part 2 of 3 about why the modern masculine mastery movement is here. And this will be a response to Kevin Samuel's The Case for Marriage. But before I get into that, I want to give a shout out to the Hot House. It's really heating up over there, and in the coming weeks, it's only going to get hotter. Full lesson plans are ready, and the first set of dashboards for the journeyman and technician level pledges are going to be going out shortly. Thanks again to all the newbies. If you're interested, go ahead and check it out. There's some advanced tech going on over there that I'm also prepping for the other levels of viewership. And basically what's happening is I'm introducing a new language, because the way that this vanilla matrix is set up, the code that keeps men running on blue pill levels needs to be hacked, basically, with a new language that activates masculine mastery within. No worries. Like I said, there are going to be plenty of gems and interviews with hotties coming, and it's going to be available for all of the Patreon levels. So, without further ado, we're going to get into today's video regarding part 2 of 3 about why the masculine mastery movement is here, Currie. So, honestly, when I first saw the title of Kevin Samuel's video, I was like, there's absolutely no possible way that a case can be made for marriage in the modern Western society. But then Kevin did something that proved that he's a master salesman. He went and evoked the GOAT, alright, the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan. Now, please understand that as a Chicago native, you know, the GOAT has a special place in all of our hearts and our imaginations and our childhoods growing up. So when he mentioned Michael Jordan, you know, my ears immediately perked up. But I think that Kevin went on to use a wonderful analogy, and the example of Michael Jordan's case was, I think, spot on with this. So first of all, we understand that Michael Jordan is a champion basketball player, but also a very successful billionaire with a B, businessman. And I think that a great reason for the example of Michael Jordan is just simply put that alphas don't rest after victory. There's always the next day, the next practice, the next skill set to acquire. This is because there's always the next championship to attain. As soon as a real alpha or a real champion or masculine man succeeds at a challenge or accomplishes a goal, there's always the next goal. There's always the next day. No matter how high you get in your career, how much of a professional you are, there's always a new challenge just around the corner. And I think that Michael Jordan exemplifies that fact. So the example that Kevin was using with Michael Jordan is that he had built a fortune basically while he was married, and when they told him how much he would have to pay in the divorce to Juanita, he said, you know what, just hand me my checkbook. And he wrote a check. That really resonated with me, because when you think about it, you know, one of my best friends, you know, he's in finance. He's a vice president in finance here in Chicago, and you know, he runs in those circles that, you know, MJ runs in. And there's a story about MJ doing this exact thing on a golf course. I'll tell the story on my Patreon side, but basically, you know, he's the type of person that you put a challenge in front of him, you know, he'll put some money on it, and if he loses, he's man enough to write that check. But the point to this is that a true alpha or a masculine master knows that if he built it once, he can simply build it again. So there's no reason to cry about losing out in a quote-unquote marriage, as long as the person knows what they're getting into the marriage for in the first place. there really isn't the argument per se of losing half your shit when you built it. It's not like the woman that you married built your stuff and you're sad about losing it because you don't know how to build it again. No, a real man or a select man knows that he's valuable even outside of the relationship. So a second point that Kevin made that was really, really interesting was that of legacy. And I'll go into this point further on in another video. But basically, when you think about what a masculine man presents and what the point of pursuing, the path of an alpha presents, and that is of legacy. Because what's the point of being in this space, living life and having all of these skill sets and these opportunities and putting things together and building an empire that you can't pass down? Legacy is one of the cornerstones of masculine mastery, and I think Kevin hit it right on the head when he brought that up in his video. So at the end of the day, I think that Kevin made a great case for marriage, but he still kept it real, when he said it's not for everyone. But again, losing half your shit really isn't a valid excuse. The real questions that a man should ask are: how's your image? How's your knowledge of self? How's your masculine mastery? These are the real questions that nearly all men who get married fail to ask before saying I do. I should know, because personally I've gone through this. Real talk and full disclosure, I've been married and divorced, so I can truly walk the talk when I speak about these things. So that's all for this particular part of the 3-part series, and stay tuned for the final installment of the very brief series of why the masculine mastery movement is here. And as always, this is your man Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, saying stay sharp and mission focused. Later.